Well, it's a tough time for everyone these days, economically speaking. Wouldn't it be great if, rather than just talking about how bad things are, some program took the time to offer some advice and suggestions for getting through it all? Guess what? We're going to do just that. Good evening. Welcome to Politics Tonight. I'm WGN-TV political analyst Paul Lisnick, and this is our nightly look at politics around our city, state, and nation. Tonight, my guests are 𝐀𝐮𝐿 the personal finance columnist for the Chicago Tribune and an author, and 𝐺𝐼𝐻 a certified financial planner and an author as well. My guests will join me in just a moment. Of course, we always want your questions and comments, especially tonight, because this is about you and your issues. Our phone lines are now open. 877-358-CLTV. That's 877-358-2588. Or Facebook works. You can give us your questions there. Facebook.com/PoliticsTonight. We're also on Twitter @PoliticsTonight. Remember, we're streaming live at WGNTV.com and CLTV.com. Your friends who live elsewhere on the planet, well, they can be watching us too. But first, here's what's happening in Politics Tonight. The Illinois Tollway Board approved a plan that will double the tolls you pay on Illinois tollways. Basic I-Pass toll rates will rise from 40 cents to 75 cents, and those who use cash will now pay $1.50. The toll increase goes into effect January 1. The Free Rides for Seniors program ends in just a few days, September 1st. And many seniors say they're confused by this new reduced fare card that the program will be using as a replacement. In fact, the Tribune reports many seniors are already expressing frustration over the new cards, which didn't come with instructions. CTA President Forrest Claypool says the transit agency is working to raise awareness about the changes. They'll have extra personnel on hand September 1st to assist seniors with questions. Governor Pat Quinn announced today that Nissan's zero-emissions all-electric car called the Leaf will arrive early in Illinois because of his administration's green initiatives. The Nissan Leaf is the first and only 100% electric zero-emission vehicle on the market. Nissan says they came to Illinois because of the high number of electric charging stations in the city. By the end of this year, there will be 280 stations across the Chicagoland area. Good for us. The Chicago Teachers Union has rejected an offer by CPS CEO Jean-Claude Brizard to give them a 2% pay increase in exchange for a longer school day starting this January. Brizard said he was disappointed by the outcome, but Teachers Union President Karen Lewis said teachers were being asked to work 29% longer for only a 2% pay raise. The CPS board already voted to extend the 2012-2013 school day by adding 90 minutes to each school day and extending the school year by 2 weeks, starting in the fall of 2012. Well, the stock market closed at a loss again today, and so it is time to talk about these issues in our marketplace and finances with my guests. They're going to help us get through these tough economic times. Once again, I hope you'll call in at 877-358-2588 with specific issues you are facing. But let me introduce my guest to you. Joining me here in the newsroom at WGN is 𝐺𝐼𝐻. She is a certified financial planner. She is the president and founder of JMC Wealth Management, and she's written a book called Emotion Behind the Money. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Love that picture, by the way. You on a flying carpet. It's a $100 bill.
You have to have a little fun with finance.
It's a good sign. And joining us from Trib Tower, of course, well-known figure here on WGN, 𝐀𝐮𝐿, the personal finance columnist for the Chicago Tribune and an author of a new book called Saving for Retirement Without Living Like a Pauper or Winning the Lottery. Gail, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Gail, let me come to you first because the title of your book is indeed a question. Assuming most of us are not winning lotteries, how do we not live like a pauper in these times when we're just trying to make ends meet?
Well, if you're out of a job, you may feel like you're living like a pauper. So I make no promises about that. But my point is that if you do have a job, that you can save some money and that you can prepare for your future, and you can save money, live okay, and not live like a pauper, and end up living your life great now and great at the point where you retire and want to still be living great.
Fair enough. Let me come to you, Julie, and ask a question about the title of your book.
Sure.
Because although it's called Emotion Behind the Money, actually in taking a look at it, one of the points that you make is to say, look, people can only, even if they have a plan, they can only stick with it if they can deal with and face the emotions behind it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, emotion, a recurrent theme for you. Explain the importance.
Well, I've done some research, and 95% of our response to the external world around us has to do actually with our subconscious beliefs. And our subconscious beliefs are actually fully created by the time we're 6 years old. So many times as adults, we are interfacing from a financial standpoint of the things that we were tape recording before we were 7. And so this is where we need to take into account what is your emotions behind the money, because you need to have your emotional and financial numbers in balance, or you won't have long-term success.
Sounds like it's our first lemonade stand that kicks in with the emotional stress in all of this. Gail, you know, Julie raises an interesting point. Let me ask you about the emotions of it. You know, it's one thing, as you just talked about, not having a job and having an issue, but the emotions of dealing with all this, the stress of it all, isn't that really one of the tough problems for most people? It's almost secondary to the money.
Absolutely. I have received hundreds of calls from people in the last few weeks who are beside themselves, worried that they're going to lose everything. They won't lose everything. They could lose a chunk, but they're worried. They're worried in part because of what they went through the last time. So we know now that the unthinkable can happen. We didn't know before 2007 that we could actually lose 57% of our money in the stock market in a couple of years, because that's what happened. On the other hand, I want people to know that although you felt like you were lost at that period in time, you did recover quite a bit. So let's say you put $10,000 into your 401k just in a stock fund in 2007. You thought everything was great, and then all of a sudden comes this awful market. And at the worst point, your $10,000 turned into less than $5,000, and you probably thought all is lost. But in fact, that money has recovered quite a bit. Not enough to make you feel great, but you now would have about $9,000. So my point in this is not to be cheery and say it's all great, but I also want people to know that it isn't all a total loss.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about what you think the Feds are going to do Friday, because the market's really awaiting for that. And of course, we want your phone calls. Are you a senior? Are you young professional? Talk to the experts. This is your chance to talk directly to them. 877-358-2588 or Facebook. I've already got some Facebook questions. We'll get to those right after this break. You're watching Politics Tonight, only on CLTV. Stay with us.